Welcome to Nails, Wood, and Wisdom, building lives one lesson at a time. I'm Sister Pam, a carpenter by trade, and together we're going to look at life, faith, struggles, and growth through the perspective of the workshop and the lessons that God teaches us while He builds people. Today is episode 6, the weight limit. So pull up a chair and let's get started. The blueprint. Every structure has a weight limit. Every floor, every beam, every shelf, every table. They're all designed to carry a certain amount of weight safely. A wise carpenter understands this because before they build anything, you determine what kind of load the structure will eventually carry. If you build something too weak for the weight it must support, failure becomes inevitable. The problem is not the weight. The problem is the structure beneath it. And spiritually, many people are carrying loads they were never designed to carry alone. Worry, fear, stress, financial pressures, family problems, relationship struggles, health concerns, ministry burdens, future uncertainties. And little by little, the weight piles up until people begin to feel exhausted, overwhelmed, anxious, and discouraged. The dangerous thing about overload is the collapse rarely happens suddenly. A small crack forms, pressure increases, fatigue sets in, weakness spreads, and eventually something gives way. Many people today are not failing because they lack faith. They're failing because they're trying to carry weight God never asked them to carry. Matthew 11:28 says, "Come unto me, all you labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Notice Jesus did not say carry more, try harder, figure it out yourself. He said, "Come unto me," because the answer to overwhelming weight is not greater strength. It's greater dependence upon Christ. The workshop. One thing that I've learned in carpentry is that support matters. When a beam carries a heavy weight, additional support is often underneath it. Extra braces, extra posts, extra reinforcement. Not because the builder expects failure, but because the builder understands wisdom. And God often strengthens us the same way. He gives us His Word, His Spirit, prayer, Christian community, wise counsel, rest, encouragement. They are not signs of weakness. They are supports. Yet many people refuse support because pride convinces them that they should be able to handle everything by themselves. But independence is not always maturity. Sometimes maturity means recognizing your limitations and allowing God to strengthen areas where you're weak. You know, Galatians 6:2 tells us, "Bear ye one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ." God never intended believers to carry everything alone. That's why community matters. That's why prayer matters. That's why fellowship matters. The strongest structures are often supported by multiple points of reinforcement. The splinters. Here's where many people get in trouble. They confuse responsibility with control. There are things we are responsible for. Then there are things only God controls. And when we start trying to carry both, we become exhausted. You can pray for your children, but you cannot control every choice they make. You can prepare for the future, but you can't control tomorrow. You can be faithful in ministry, but you can't force results. You can love people, but you can't make them change. And many people spend years carrying burdens that belong in God's hands. 1 Peter 5:7 says, "Casting all your care upon Him, for He careth for you." Notice that word casting. Not sharing, not loaning, not temporarily handing over, but casting. That means letting it go completely. And honestly, that's difficult because we often trust our worrying more than we trust God's sovereignty. But worry never carries the burden. It only carries the weight of the burden. The finished work. If you feel overwhelmed today, maybe the question is not whether the weight is real. Maybe the question is, were you really meant to carry it alone? Because you see, God never promised a life without burdens, but He did promise His presence in the middle of them. The strongest believers are not the people carrying everything themselves. They are the people who've learned where to place the weight. So take inventory today. What burdens have you been carrying that belongs to God? What fear have you been rehearsing instead of releasing? What pressure have you been trying to control instead of surrender? Because sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop trying to be the support beam for everything around you. Let the master builder carry what only he can carry, and trust his shoulders are far stronger than yours. Thank you for joining me today on Nails, Wood, and Wisdom. Whatever weight you may be carrying right now, remember this. The master carpenter knows exactly how much pressure that you're under. He's not forgotten you. He sees every burden, every prayer, every struggle, and every unseen battle. So lean on Him today. Trust His strength when yours feels weak. Trust His wisdom when yours feels uncertain. Trust His hand when life feels heavy, because you do not have to carry the whole load alone. Until next time, keep building, keep growing, and keep trusting the one who will never fail under pressure.